Well, hello, gang. This is Heather Biederman for Liberty Librarian. How you doing today? It is a Thursday, and my cat just ran into the room and went, meow. And Rory is here too. Hope you're all having a great week. I am putting up my banner so you know it's Liberty Librarian time, and we're gonna have some fun today. It has been a really odd week, and I missed you the last week. We had a lot of fun doing my academic residency, and it was a great time. So, um, you know, it was a long, tough week of learning and getting ready to be in a doctoral program, and I'm really glad I did it. But I'm glad I'm home now. So this day, it's just kind of, the beginning of my normal life is starting to come back. So we're already gearing up for school starting in the fall. Oh, summer is going way too fast, isn't it? And it's just been an out of this world week. Speaking out of this world, have you guys seen the news about the Jeff Bezos going into outer space in a penis ship? He is the world's richest man, so he's gone to outer space. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but I'm going to show you a not safe for work little video clip that I'll probably end up getting taken down eventually because who knows? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we'll watch it together in just a little bit. So, and then we have intellectual freedom news. So yeah, it's been kind of a crazy week. So how you all doing? Hopefully you're doing great. I missed you. I survived and I'm still here. This isn't a ghost, so that's kind of great. My cats have been on me like little face huggers from the Alien movie, like just like never letting me out of their sight. It is kind of like crazy. So I'm glad to be home. I'm glad to see you. I'm sad because I'm still taking a class for another couple weeks. My friend Kara Schultz is in South Dakota right now, where I kind of wish I was too, doing Freedom Fest. So I'm living vicariously through you, Kara. Hope you're having a good time. Oh, there's Rory. He couldn't stay away. Here, I'll let you see cat. It's not a cat-free video, as Jeff Miner would say. So, yes, there we go. We'll see if he sits on the other side of my computer and rips stuff up because he's kind of in that sort of mood. We'll see. So anyway, this clip I wanted to show you. Let's get it going. It's kind of freaking hilarious. When you see it, you'll never unsee it. Okay, so just have you ever seen the movie Austin Powers? You know who Austin Powers is. Mike Myers does the British secret agent silly kind of shit, right? I'm gonna play a little clip from that, which I'm gonna grab this cat. Okay, so we're gonna share audio. There we go. So when you see it, you're never gonna unsee it. Okay, so let's watch this together.
Colonel, you better take a look at this radar. What is it, son?
I don't know, sir, but it looks like a giant...
Dick!
Yeah.
Take a look out of starboard.
Oh my God, it looks like a huge...
Pecker!
Oh, yeah.
Wait, that's not a woodpecker. It looks like someone's...
Private! We have reports of an unidentified flying object. It is a long, smooth shaft, complete with two balls.
What is that? That looks just like an enormous...
Wang, pay attention.
I was distracted by that enormous flying...
Willie. Yeah. What's that? Well, it looks like a giant...
Wiener? Any of you kids want another wiener?
Dad, what's that?
I don't know, son, but it's got great big...
Nuts! Hot, salty nuts! Who wants some? Lord almighty.
That looks just like my husband's.
One-eyed monster. Step right up and see the one-eyed monster.
Ah!
Hey, what's that? It looks like a big...
Woody! Woody Harrelson? Can I have your autograph?
Sure, no problem. Oh, my Lord. Look at that thing.
So big.
I've seen bigger. That's just a little prick.
I gotta laugh. Ah! It was a rocket scene from Austin Powers. And I was just like laughing when I saw what Jeff Bezos flew in this week. And I'm going to share that too. Let me stop that. So if you've seen it, the funny part is it looks just like a kind of a wiener. Let's see if I can reload this. Oh, my picture isn't working. Let's just click on another one. Okay. This is what it looks like. I'm going to share this. So, you got to have visuals on this because no one can believe me that it's even. Jeff Bezos went to space and people made dick jokes. See this thing? It looks like a penis. It looks just like the penis from the Austin Powers movie. They made a penis rocket. A penis rocket. And it's just like, it's like the entire internet watching Jeff Bezos fly into space in his penis rocket. And life is Austin Powers now. Of course it is. And it's what it looked like, right? And I'm not the only one who thought it, obviously. Space is about to get effed. Oh my God. So you too could go into outer space, because what is kind of cool about it is that this is not something that, obviously you have to be rich to do it, but it used to be you had to be in the military, you had to be an astronaut, you had to go through special training, you had to do it all. And now this is ripping that like wide open. This is the opening day, the opening week for civilian space travel. This is the thing I'm super excited about, and I think you all should be too. So Bezos, he created Amazon. And I know a lot of people had weird feelings about it. They're like, he should solve world hunger instead of going to outer space. But really, if you make that much money, at least, you got to have something for yourself, a little bit of something. And I admit, if I was as rich as Jeff Bezos, hell yeah, I'd be going to outer space if I could. I want to do that in my life. I think it'd be awesome. However, going in a penis-shaped rocket is just hilarious, because like that's awesome. And so what this is with a company called Blue Origin. And so the crew of the Blue Origin flew just days after billionaire Richard Branson did it. Jeff Bezos went up, and he had 3 companions with him on the New Shepard flight. And the first group of passengers to take a ride in the vessel. So what the shape looked like the Spy Who Shagged Me movie, and the jokes are not safe for work. Obviously, you saw the video. It looks like a penis, and it's a great penis joke all day long. So I adore that, and I think life is just that weird right now. We are in the weirdest timeline, totally. So he had like, how would this make it more people were saying he should make pay workers a living wage, stop world hunger because he's the richest man in the world, a $100 billion landing from space tax, quick, pass that quick while he's in outer space. Now that it's all over, everybody goes back to work. What would you do? What would you do if you had as much money as Jeff Bezos, right? I don't know. Like, I think I would probably, like, I don't know, get some kittens and, like, go to outer space. I don't know. I think once you get so much money, what can you even do with it? It's just freedom. Or is it actually, like, make it so you're trapped? Who even knows? That would be an interesting question. If I ever meet Jeff Bezos. Bezos. I feel like I'm saying his name weird, like a bezel. Bezos. It's really cool looking. I mean, I keep looking at pictures from it, and it is kind of amazing. And I mean, people are all like on board with this. This is part of our dreams, our collective dreams as America, is the space race, going to the moon, and it's kind of amazing. It's Jeff Bezos got to go. people are saying he's not overcompensating for anything, but he isn't the one who made the company. So obviously whoever is in charge of this blue, I keep wanting to call him Blue Oyster Cult, that's not it. But you know, it went to space travel. It worked. He came back. He didn't die. I mean, what kind of crazy thing would have happened? So he said it was all over within 10 minutes, which is kind of like sex, you know, like if you're doing it right. Maybe wrong. But so it's very penis and kind of goes with that, you know. So it says, well, Jeff Bezos' flight was over pretty quick, tweeted another observer. Ex-wife, the things I could tell you. And I love the pictures of the rocket taking off. I mean, rockets are just cool. So there's a lot of stuff where they're saying about Richard Branson and Tesla's Elon Musk is going to be going up pretty soon. So people who are have flown in fictional ships also weighed in, like George Takei, who played Sulu. He said, "Oh my, that shape," you know. So everybody's having a lot of fun with it. But would you go? Like if you got, let's say you won the lottery and you had a free trip to outer space, would you go? How? I mean, I'm not like the most brave person in the world, but Jesus, I would totally go. I would maybe have a couple shots before I got into the rocket, because I figure hopefully by the time I would be getting the chance to go, they would have it all figured out and not exploding. You know, I grew up during the Challenger explosion. That had this huge impact on my brain. So there's always a part of me, even when I'm flying a regular airplane, that I think, is this going to explode? Is this the time that something goes terribly wrong? And it could. It hasn't. It probably won't. I mean, it's more likely I would die in a car accident or something on land, something with like greater odds for it to happen, just because the more you are out and about, the more your chances are of somebody doing something stupid. And that's usually what kills you, is stupidity. Somebody else's stupidity or your own killing you. So there you go. So let's see. So I showed you the video and I love that. I love it. Where was the other one? Civilian space travel. So there is talk now that this has come out that space station astronauts welcome civilian space travel. They would love to have this be kind of like a travel destination thing. This would put money into the space program. It would make it so innovations could happen. People would be excited to do it. I believe that the first step won't be actual like going to the moon or anything. I think it'll be trips that go into the outer atmosphere to make it so your travel across the world will be faster. It's a lot of potential, right? So I think subspace travel, and then once that frontier is crossed, then they will go onto trips to the moon. Maybe there'll be a space station out there. They're already setting things up for trips to Mars. It'll take a while, but it's possible, right? Anything's possible. So I am actually very excited that we too can do it. So in New York Mag, they had an article this last week that says, when can I buy a ticket to space? A guide for non-billionaires. So like you and me, right? I mean, I don't know how many billionaires watch my show. Probably negative million billionaires are watching my show right now because they got better shit to do. But anyway, so this article talks about we're at the dawn of a new era of space exploration. So over 60 years after Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first person in space, a handful of companies are now planning to take non-astronaut people like you and me with sufficiently massive bank accounts on the galactic tour. So this includes, Elon Musk, like we talked about, Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin, and Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic. So SpaceX, Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic are the big three that are going out. So here's everything you need to know about the rise of space tourism. So billionaires are going to get the first pick, obviously. They have money. They get they get into everything. They get everything first. So that makes sense. So the history of civilian space travel. The first effort to send a civilian to space ended in disaster. In 1986, this is what I was talking about before, Krista McAuliffe was set to be the first civilian and teacher in outer space. But she and 6 crewmates were killed during the explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger. So she technically was the first civilian, but she died. So this is what has clouded me and with fear for a long time. But the older I get, the more the rationally, the strong part of me goes, you know what? It happened, and I bet you they're going to do everything possible to make sure it never, ever, ever happens again. Doesn't mean it won't ever, but I think they're going to up their game on everything. Double check, triple check, quadruple check, hopefully that means pretty safe. And the more they do it, the better they'll get at it. So after that, NASA forbade the practice. They knew people were too heartbroken. It was a media nightmare for them, right? So Russia, they are then struggling space program stepped up to the plate. 2001, 20 years ago, Dennis Tito paid a whopping $20 million for a seat on the Russian Soyuz rocket, becoming the first civilian to visit the International Space Station. How cool would that be? Humanity's home away from home. So it's out there. People are out there. It is great. Space.com says just 7 space tourists have followed in his footsteps in the last 20 years. Only 7 people up until the last month via Russia's space agency. And it's a lot of money to do it and a lot of work to go into it. But the year ahead, this next year, after the pandemic, should be a busy one. For this industry that's kind of faded away and more civilians are reaching for the stars. The desire for people to do it might actually help them grow. So I think there's a lot of potential and positive ways to look at this, right? So who's going next? So Bezos announced he was going, and he went on July 1st, hours after Bezos announced it. Richard Branson decided he was going to go beat him by 9 days. So he went off on July 11th. And this week we had Bezos, and Elon Musk is coming up in late 2021. So he's going to be there too. So our trinity of tech and billionaire guys are going out into outer space. Boldly go where very few people have gone before. So the billionaire entrepreneur Jared Isaacman aims to raise awareness for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital to begin a new era for human spaceflight and exploration. So this includes Isaacman and a childhood cancer survivor named Haley Arkanal, who plus 2 others. So I mean, they're planning on bringing normal people on board. So hopefully they don't. I mean, God, the bad side of me. Don't kill this cancer survivor kid. That would really suck. So they're supposed to go September 15th. So it's really gearing up. SpaceX is going to be doing more. All of these companies are really doing the push. So the International Space Station Axiom's first private ISS mission is set to launch no earlier than January 2022. So they're going to be using its Crew Dragon spacecraft, this time going to the space station. So they're going to be bringing more and more people every day into space using this spacecraft. So there's a reality show. The second mission is a focus of a Discovery Channel show called Who Wants to Be an Astronaut? So you might want to check that out if you're interested, because they're taking contestants to take on extreme challenges to have a chance to win a ticket on the ISS Axiom space trip. So you too could do it. Who even knew that this was a thing? I'm kind of excited. I'm not in shape and buff enough, but there's a lot of libertarian get fit people who've been getting buff and beefcake, and any of you could totally do it. So I don't think that'd be a bad thing at all. But what does it cost, Heather? Going to space is expensive, and if you're not like an owner of Amazon, it's probably out of your grip for just Like you can't just go buy a first class ticket. The low price of $55 million will get you the flight and a stay on the ISS space station. So Virgin Galactic's suborbital trips, where passengers can experience weightlessness for several minutes. So you can get that lightweight feeling. So you're kind of in outer space for a little bit before falling to Earth, are more reasonable, $250,000. So if you're rich, you could do that. That's like somebody's house. I mean, maybe not these guys' house, but like anybody's house that would be really happy to have a $250,000 house. So 600 people have already made reservations for the 90-minute flights on Branson's Spaceship 2. Spaceship 2. Reuters reports while Bezos' Blue Origin hasn't announced official prices, the auction for a seat to join him and his brother went for a cool $28 million. So Richie Rich can go into space. Is it safe? Probably. Going to space is dangerous. You know, it's like these rich guys, they like to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. You know, there are mountains that are littered with frozen dead bodies. Yet these rich guys, they're just like, they got to prove to their friends how cool they are. Look at all the amazing things they get to do. That's why they do it. The more danger and that they survive, the more people adore them. So it's just a thing, you know, for them. And they usually have so many people that make sure they aren't going to die. So the richer you are, you're well taken care of. They usually send the best people to make sure you don't die. But does it mean you won't? No, you could die just like anybody. We all could die. So they didn't go that way. Instead, they're like, we're going to prove about protecting space tourists by just requiring the companies to tell them they may die. And it's up to them to make a decision if they want to take that risk or not. So it's the same approach the government takes when they fly astronauts. It's somewhat controversial. You know, like as Americans, we go, airplanes should be safe, you know, jets need to be safe. And they are usually, but they're not always. You know, we don't have very many plane crashes. But jets and rockets can have things go wrong. It's definitely possible when you have flammable liquid that's shooting you at amazing speeds to get out of the atmosphere. Things can happen, okay? So that's a risk. So the government's gonna just kind of go, yep, if you want to do it, you have to just sign a waiver saying you get it, you could die. Take good insurance, right? What are the other types of space tourism that are in the works? So what else is going on, Heather? Strapping in a rocket isn't the only one that you can do. There's a company called Space Perspective that is planning to fly passengers to the edge of space in high-tech version of a hot air balloon. So it's going to go up. It's the size of a football stadium, they say. So super huge, lifted by hydrogen. You know, have you ever heard of the Hindenburg? That makes me a little nervous. But the flights are planned for early 2024. Tickets priced at about $125,000 a person. So they're going to fly this whole stadium up to the edge of outer space and then come back down. How crazy. So another option that you can have is called the Orbital Assembly Corporation, which plans to have a luxury space hotel. Luxury outer space hotel. What is that? Like the Fifth Element, where they have like the spaceship where everybody has like, they have opera and it's amazing. So the hotel is going to be called Voyager Station, and it looks like a Ferris wheel floating in orbit, and features a restaurant, gym, Earth viewing lounges, bars, and 3.5-day stay. And it's expected to cost $5 million. So people, they're gearing up in our lifetime to have civilian space travel. How cool is that? Are they gonna be? Is there gonna be other options? Are other celebrities going into outer space? Oops, I lost my spot there. Yes. They say that Ashton Kutcher, Justin Bieber, and Leonardo DiCaprio are among people who are interested. Like last year, Tom Cruise and NASA announced they have their own collaboration going to make a movie on the International Space Station. So it's going, it's off, right? So when can you and I do this? It's going to be a little longer, I think that the price will come down as more people do it, as it gets easier to do. We're not going to get these luxury options, but air travel, what used to be prohibitively expensive, with one-way ticket across the country costing more than half the price of a new car. One can expect similar price reductions in space travel. As they get better at it, as they do it, they will make it so more and more people can go. And for now, though, do the sweepstakes or a reality show. That's your best bet for getting in with tiny bank accounts like we have. But it's getting to be in our grasp. And that seems kind of weird to say when you have like a penis-shaped rocket, but don't knock it. Cock it, rocket. Oh God, I'm just broken. So, and there's more articles out there. I saw some more about like Elon Musk. I think they're so jealous of each other. I think that makes me laugh. Zero-G flights, people love that. There's a lot more people doing that. It's definitely more doable. But in our lifetime, guys, we're gonna have space travel. I don't know if I'm gonna get enough money to do it, but I'm before I die, my hope is to at least get one like weightless experience in outer space. How amazing would that be? So that is my news for the day. I think I had a picture. I'm going to show the picture quick of the Blue Origin group, just because the Blue Man group is what I'm always going to call them. Let's see what tab there. This shows Wally Funk, his buddy, 82-year-old on board, West Texas person that paid $28 million to go with Jeff Bezos. And they look so happy. It was so exciting. So Wally Funk said, I was just a normal person going up in outer space. That's what I wanted to feel. And Funk is 82 years old. And she is Grapevine, Texas, I think, and female aviation pioneer who was trained to go into space since 1959. Finally accomplished her dream. Did it next to the world's richest man. So how freaking cool is that? So cool. So cool. And like, this is like, it's just amazing. And there's a picture of it. The penis ship. Yay. It's amazing. I am super happy about it. I may be a little snarky because I'm jealous, but it is cool. It is very cool. So, what do you think? Would you go? Do you think you'll get to go? Do you think like it will get more affordable options? Even less than $1,000, less than $2,000 to get to go. Maybe in our lifetime, I think it's possible. What do you think about the space Hindenburg? I'm a little scared of that. It seems like so many things could go wrong that it would drop from outer space, and you get like, how they have those Marvel movies where they have the big giant spaceships that like something happens and they crash to Earth. Sometimes having things that are too big in the sky is a bad idea. Just my thought, my 2 cents. So anyway, we're going to switch gears. We're going to do some intellectual freedom news. How's that for you? My first news this week is, and all my intellectual freedom news I like to get from the American Library Association Intellectual Freedom blog. I love that site. They pick out so many great news stories every week, from everything from social media, international news, around the web, and it's usually censorship, cybersecurity, all the things that I am super excited about: net neutrality, broadband, academic freedom, everything. Disinformation, intellectual freedom is just a great, interesting topic for me. So first in the news, there's a bill that would ban facial recognition in public housing that is up. And I found this article on nextgov.com. And this bill is, this article came out July 7th, so it's from last week. Proposal would also direct the HUD Housing and Urban Development Department to conduct a comprehensive report on how the tech is used and why, and its impact on tenants. So the legislation would stop the usage of facial recognition and biometric technologies in public and assisted housing units funded under the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is a great step forward. I've always been worried since my friend Kara was telling me about a conference she went to where governments and housing looked at doing testing on sewage to see if there's drugs in the water. And there's some nefarious ways that they can do biometric testing. There's also facial recognition, so they could have something built into a security system in a housing development that would scan people's faces. And they could get away with it because there's poor people and they can't argue otherwise. But this is a good step in the right direction where it would prohibit that. And so this is introduced by representatives from Massachusetts and Michigan, saying the No Biometric Barriers to Housing Act 2021 would ban the use of this tech in most federally funded public housing. More than 2 million Americans live in public housing nationwide. So this would be a lot of people affected by it. It consistently misidentifies people of color and women, and makes this surveillance state that's going on in our country even worse. So we don't need to make people more marginalized, feeling that they're being watched by Big Brother all the time, because it's what's happening, right? This is a much needed bill, and it will ban the use of it. So I am eagerly watching this. And I like that because they have federal funding, this might be a way around stopping that. At least if there are less options for people to be putting this into communities and like apartment buildings and that sort of thing, maybe the business model would go away. It would fail. So that is my hope too. So facial recognition is totally inaccurate at this point. And it doesn't matter if it was accurate or not. It's a basic privacy violation. So we'll keep an eye on this. This is constantly changing. Hopefully next week we'll get some more news that will tell us it's totally gone for good. I would be happy about that. Maine also becomes the first state to pass broad government ban on facial recognition technology. So you see, this is starting to take off all around the country, that states are worried about it and lawmakers are worried about it. So if you're worried about it, make sure you tell your lawmakers that you don't want this. And don't think that it just has to be at the national or state level. Local community members are often making choices every day about privacy issues that they think are small because they may get some free technology donated to help police departments and such. But you need to say specifically, don't do this in our community. It will make it so we are marginalizing people, and we are not a nanny state. We need to have some freedoms. Hold on to those freedoms, kids, while you can. So the law enforcement side says that they use facial recognition to investigate serious crimes. And they legally do a lot of that anyway, with or without this. So I feel that their pleas for getting to use this are not going to be heard by me, because I believe that they are abusing it already. So Maine's law is notably stronger than other existing state laws. The next strongest would be the state of Washington's law, which was passed last year. That law puts restrictions on law enforcement use of facial subconsciously. Facial recognition technology, such as requiring a public approval process to implement new measures and obtaining a warrant for investigations, which I believe should be the case in this too. If they get a warrant, I have no problem with it, but they don't want to. They want it easy, and they want it so they can just pick and choose who are they going to spy on next. So the law has been heavily criticized due to the involvement of tech powerhouse Microsoft, which is headquartered in the state. It was introduced by a state senator who works as a program manager for the company for Microsoft. So there's a lot of pushback. There are no other facial recognition technology laws on the books that span the entirety of state government agencies, aside from blanket restrictions on law enforcement. So they're using it in law enforcement ways, but I think that this needs to be broadened so other agencies aren't abusing it as well, because it can easily happen. So this has really taken off since May 2020, following the death of George Floyd, where people of color were targeted with facial recognition software. And Clearview AI scraped billions of images from social media accounts in violation of at least one law is the one being used. And there is also a question of racial bias and other forms of discrimination in the system. So this is definitely a time to bring us up. And so this Facial Recognition and Biometric Technology Moratorium Act, introduced in Congress mid-June, the blanket ban on facial recognition technology by federal law enforcement agencies, as well as a broad variety of other biometric technologies. It's needed. It's sponsored by a coalition of Democrats, including Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, but also struggled to attract the same bipartisan support other tech regulation measures have. So what do you think about that? I think that there is definitely some potential for having a little bit of power taken away from the government. But what is interesting, and what I always want to know, is what's hidden in some of these laws that will make it so they can have exceptions. I'm always a little wary when you get top level people like Democrats, Republicans really pushing for something, because sometimes they use double speak to actually say, yes, we're protecting freedom, which actually means we're not. So be careful. I am not a law person. I am only a limited understanding of these things. But if you do know more, let me know. Let me know what they're actually up to. Oh, so Thursday. Okay. So what was the next thing I was going to do? I was going to look at... I closed my one window. I'm so sad. First Amendment and library services starts in August. They're going to learn about legal principles. There's e-courses that I learn about. So much stuff. I'm on the Intellectual Freedom Committee in Minnesota, and we've been doing a lot of work on trying to protect the rights of people in our state. So I'm always interested in seeing what's happening in other states. Okay. You remember a couple weeks ago, I talked about copyrighted music being used by police officers to censor witnesses. You remember that at all? There's an update, and I wanted to make sure I could tell you about that. Let's see. Hopefully this doesn't have music start up, because this kind of does. This came in commondreams.org, which kind of is cool. It's got stuff about climate, rights and justice, COVID-19, politics, economics, war and peace. So definitely a cool website. Some alternative viewpoints. So if you're looking for more it's news, this one was kind of interesting to me. Common Dreams says the cop's effort to censor witnesses by using video, he'd play a Taylor Swift song. So that way, when the person he was arresting was live streaming it, he knew that if he played the song, it would block it, because at least the sound would turn off, right? So he was doing that as an attempt to supersede the freedom of protecting your social justice, your human rights, and civil liberties. So, overzealous copyright enforcement could not be more glaring. Copyright censorship enables other forms of censorship. So, he was censoring a Black Lives Matter activist at an Oakland protest with a video of the officers' interaction going viral because of his attempt to prevent them from uploading the video by invoking copyright law and playing a pop song. So he played it loudly, hoping that it would make it so the whole video would come down. After ordering organizers with the Anti-Police Terror Project to remove a banner from the steps of the Alameda County Courthouse, this person, Sergeant David Shelby, began playing Taylor Swift's song Blank Space on his cell phone, at first confusing the demonstrators. And are we having a dance party now? Asked the activist, James Birch, whose group was demonstrating at the pretrial hearing of former police officer who killed a black man, Stephen Taylor, at a Walmart last year. So this officer Shelby eventually told him he was playing the song so copyright detection software used by YouTube would block the video Birch's fellow organizers filming from being uploaded. You can record all you want. I know it can't be posted to YouTube, he said later, reiterating, I'm playing my music so that you can't post on YouTube. The Anti-Police Terror Project did manage to share the video on YouTube, landing nearly 200,000 people to view the footage at press time. So the trick is with live video, and I'm just going to say this too because I played a clip earlier. Sometimes it comes down, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends. It's that you still have a copy of it, and I think he didn't understand when you put it out there. It still records it somewhere. Sometimes it's a little confusing if it takes it down right away. But usually you get a message that says, what do you want to do with this? Do you want to like take out the offending part? Do you want to like do like all of it, take the whole thing down? So you get a chance. And while you hold on to that, you can download that copy. So they had a copy and then they could repost it. So it's not enough to totally take it down. So his misunderstanding just shows that he was thinking that the restrictive copyright would totally protect him, but it doesn't mean the video didn't exist. So it was a little dumb. And there were other incidents in recent months in Beverly Hills, California, where it played music during encounters with the public to prevent them from sharing footage of the encounters. It does seem to be a trend now. People have the right to film the police and efforts. What sucks more is when things get taken down and then you lose access to a station. That's really sucky, and I hate that to happen. Shamrock Capital, an investment firm notorious for denying Taylor Swift the rights to her own music, is abusing their power. So the monopoly's goal to leverage the power of big tech to make a few extra bucks, not for artists, but for the investors, is a problem in the digital era. So they talk about it's not a good look for law enforcement to be trying to silence people. And really, they shouldn't be doing anything wrong. You know, if people have to film you because they believe you're breaking laws, that's their right. You're serving the public, so let them film you. And if you think you're doing something wrong, stop doing the thing that's wrong. How about that? Don't murder people. Quit beating up people. Quit flaunting the law in front of them, and then quit getting mad when people figure out what you're doing and make you stop. So, police officers, you can do better. And I believe in you. I think a lot of you are good people. So, don't be like these guys. Don't do that. So, quite interesting to me. The last, let's see. I hate when I close things. Hate it. Did you guys hear? Because I'm like a kind of heathen lady. That Disney. You guys watched the finale of Loki on Disney Plus. I love Loki. Loki's such a great character in Marvel. Interesting, real Norse god that people like have mixed feelings about. But Disney tried to trademark Loki, the Marvel movie character. Some fans of the Norse god, however, the heathens, the Asatru, like this is a religion that has come before Loki in the comic book sense. Okay, can the name of a deity be trademarked? No. Can the picture of Tom Hiddleston in the Loki horns, can that be copyrighted? Yes, that is their right. There is a user's artwork because of potential trademark violation and was taken down on the Redbubble Australian online marketplace. The artist was known on Twitter as at your Boswell, but referred to as John, had a design that closely resembled 2019 comic book depiction of Loki. The area is kind of gray because Loki, the character, is based on art and interpretations of the Norse god, right? So where does that begin and where does the Marvel universe begin? That is where it's complicated. So Disney thinks that they can copyright someone's culture now. So they're going to start like copyrighting Jesus or something if they have like a Jesus character, and so think of it like that. They talked about there's actually a petition going on, stop Disney trademarking the names of Norse gods. They haven't trademarked the names in that kind of sense, because you can be named Loki, you can have a book about Loki, but you can't make it too much like the Marvel Loki. You're not wearing the licensed costume, and the problem with this Redbubble getting taken down was that the artist actually used his own face for the Loki shirt. So they came from Redbubble, not from Disney. So, and Disney is usually the ones that are really hardcore about bringing stuff down that's getting into their copyright, right? But this didn't come from them. It came from the Redbubble. So I wouldn't get super angry about Disney, but they did trademark parts of Loki as well as other Norse deities represented in the Marvel Universe, like Odin, Thor, all of that. Freya. There's so many. But these trademarks apply only specifically to Disney's business and commercial works, not the Norse gods in general. So they can only claim its own interpretation of any god. So not just trademarking the word Loki or anything that is going to actually work. So the adaptation that Disney would mostly likely protect, Disney is not trying to trademark a god. So don't be worried. They're not going to start trademarking Jesus, Ganesha, Buddha, even God with big G. There's like dozens of trademarks. So the names are all public domain, as is Loki. But the registered trademarks are limited to the company's distinct use and were proved to be identifiable within a product or service. So Redbubble was hypersensitive for taking it down. It just doesn't want to get in some sort of lawsuit. I mean, it's Disney. You know they love to sue everybody. But they found that in 2015, this has happened before. eBay denied the Australian artist Marcos Gage the use of the name Hermes, who is the ancient Greek god of communication, because of trademark issues. Hermes is also a French producer of luxury goods. Like Isis and as a god, and then that kind of got people didn't want to have anything to do with it because they thought of it as a terrorist group. There's a lot of things with a name. So companies have a legal obligation to protect their trademarks. So I get it, but the Loki shirt that launched the backlash has been reinstated. So if you heard things like the last week or so about like Disney trademarking names of gods, it's not true. You really can't. But images from their movies, something very specific, like with the costumes, that the costume design is very specific. Those things do. So be careful if you're going to use stuff with copyright. You don't want the big D coming after you. Let's see. thirsty. Okay. Where was it? God, I hate it when I shut things down. Okay. There is something in journalism. I actually didn't get a chance to look too closely at this. There's a website called Poynter, Poynter. It has articles on fact checking, media literacy, training, and ethics, which I think is interesting. Has some stuff I agree with, some I don't. The coronavirus has closed more than 70 local newsrooms across America and counting. So journalism and news has been hurt by just our society in general. Newspapers have closed all across the country. They're not making money anymore. People aren't reading the newspaper, physical news. So they've had to change their style of news gathering, and it's become more online. And some of them are pulling from national news. So you're getting a lot less of your local newspaper. So 70 of them have closed around the country, and more are happening. So this was earlier in the month in July. So it says it started with the cut and print days. So they're having furloughs and layoffs. None of it was enough. So they've totally closed down. Some of the newspapers that have closed down in the last year have been over 100 years old. So this is one of another, like we always hear stories about restaurants closing down all across the country because they couldn't deal with the rules that were in place. They couldn't deal with people not wanting to come in. It's really hard to do news when people don't want to leave their home to cover the news. And really, how much news is happening when nobody leaves home? It was enough to break a lot of newspapers. So mergers have happened, but sometimes when they merge, they drop the dead weight, what they call the dead weight. So at least 14 of the newsrooms are now that are gone are now owned by CNHI. Several are owned by the Forum Communications Company, and some by local families. So since 2004, about 1,800 newspapers have closed in the United States. They're news deserts. This is one of the things I worry about constantly is like who's covering obituaries, who's covering marriages, who's covering births, who's covering businesses coming and going. Like our history is disappearing in this country, and it is horrific. A professor at University of North Carolina, Hussman School of Journalism and Media, Penny Abernathy, reported that 1,700 are weekly newspapers, and many of them are just closing. It's been about 100 newspapers every year have closed since 2004, and it's getting faster after the pandemic. So between places switching to online only and those that are merging is a really sharp increase, and it's not surprising. So the pace is faster, and now that the pandemic is hopefully ended, I have my doubts. I think it's going to take off again in the fall, and I don't want to be right. I really don't want to be right. When you lose a small daily or a weekly, you lose the journalist who's going to show up at your school board meeting, your planning board meeting, your county commissioner meeting. And part of the importance of your local media and attending your local governance is coverage. So people, you know what, like, I get it. Sometimes your local government stuff seems boring, like, oh, who cares about sewer and this and that. But if somebody's not covering it, you're not going to know when things are happening that you do care about. So this is where the problems are. So places that grew up alongside their communities, they had so many news stories that are disappearing. They collected everything. They talked about their local newsrooms they've lost because of the coronavirus. When possible, they've included clippings from about that newsroom or about it. Many of the sites mentioned are disappearing with no notice, and they wanted to show that they once did exist. So one of the things that libraries are having to do is to gather as much of the electronic resources too, because this is a project that I think libraries need to take on, especially public libraries around the country. is digitizing some of these a library of online newspapers, because some of them are really great and have an archive that the libraries can download and keep on their files. Others do not, and somebody needs to archive the content. I'm a big believer that internet content needs to be kept, and it needs to be kept somewhere that it's safe forever. Because what happens if it disappears? All of this information is gone. And there may be things on there that you need someday. So there is a huge list in this Pointer article, Closed by the Merger. They talk about Iowa. There's a whole bunch in Iowa that were merged together. The Daily Iowegian, that was founded in 1864, closed in May 2020. I'm just like looking, because I'm originally from Iowa, and there's a bunch in Texas. There's some in Kentucky. I mean, this is a really interesting article. Nevada, lots and lots in Iowa. So this is a dead zone for newspapers. One that closed in my hometown is Home Magazine. That started in 1970, and it just closed last year in May 2020. So that's gone. And you know, Home Magazine was a lot more ads and stuff, but it had news in it. You know, I mean, it just didn't make money the way it did. City Pages up in Minneapolis, that was started in 1979. It had great alternative articles, and now it's gone. It died in October 28th, 2020, and it was owned by the Star Tribune. So that's gone. R.I.P. baby. I'm going to see if there's any other Minnesota. International Falls Journal, the Southwest Journal, Home Magazine, City Pages, Hastings Star Gazette, that started in 1866, closed in 2020. The Bulletin, it's probably 1960s started, closed in 2020. Two Harbors, Minnesota's Lake County News Chronicle, Eden Prairie News. I mean, there's a lot that went away. Lakeshore Weekly. So I'm just saying Minnesota ones. International Falls. So there are a lot that have closed. So if you're interested, this pointer.org 2021, the coronavirus has closed more than 60 local newsrooms across America and counting just last year. That is important, and you guys should pay attention to the news organizations that are disappearing in our lives, in your life. And on that note, that's a good spot to stop because of my outrage. Woo! There are a lot of great news articles in the Intellectual Freedom blog from the American Library Association. So if you need more, go there, and that's where that article was that I just mentioned. So on that note, I am so happy that I get to see you again. I hope you had a great week. I know I'm having some problems this week with our comment section on StreamYard. It seems to not be picking up a lot of them. So if you have comments, post them on my Liberty Librarian Facebook page. That's where I'll most likely see it. And I will get back to you. Hope you have a great week. I love you guys. Have the best week ever. And I will see you next Thursday. See ya.